Cary Harrison with you, and welcome to this special edition of the Cary Harrison Files. Glad to be with you as always. This is Pride Month. Now, certain places in the world, no evidence, none. I am sitting right now in Tampa, Florida. This is Market 18. It has got the highest real estate market in the nation. It is exploding, and there is not a single pride flag, not one, anywhere. You say, how can this be? And then you cross the bridge to St. Petersburg, and good luck not finding a pride flag. Politics. Politics is hitting the nation right now in strange ways. 36 states are looking to block and ban anything that the Biden administration, which in the last couple of days has made great inroads to protect LGBTQ plus LMNOP students in schools, where all people should feel safe because they go to school to, learn. But I am in a state where books are banned. And the beauty of the show that we do on KPFK and some of our public radio affiliates is it turns into an audiobook through Audible and then becomes banned by virtue of its bookness, even though it's an audiobook. These are strange perversions that George Orwell, even in his orgasmic moments, P.T. Barnum could not have imagined this. He had bearded ladies and lobster boys, but not banning audiobooks. This is like Huxley level bizarreness. But what I want to do is celebrate filmmaking. I want to celebrate any LGBT filmmaker who goes out and gets greenlit a film. Do you know how hard it is to get anything approved by anybody for media? It's almost impossible. But if you've written a good script and you're a writer and a director and your idea is excellent, and you get a good cast and people buy in and invest in it, you can actually make a film. What is the percentage of people who successfully make films? Tiny. Sure, you turn on Netflix. Yes, there's a million things on there, but a lot of them are 20 years old. Some of them are new. Many people already have pre-existing relationships. But this is an area that is still considered difficult because there are political obstacles over which you have to find ways to surmount. I want to bring on a superstar director who's come up with a great new film. Let me give you the quick synopsis here. Fired from her teaching job at a Catholic school. A transgender woman, double contemplates suicide, a reasonable response. If you happen to be LGBTQ plus, you probably would say, I get it. Doesn't mean you'd want to do it. She contemplates suicide until she meets a young girl with two fathers, and they have a profound impact on each other's lives. Actually, regular, everyday America. Why do I say that? Well, watching the Super Bowl in the last number of months, you probably remember halftime. And when you saw halftime, that's what America looks like. It was not 50,000 white men jumping around. It was 50,000 not white men jumping around. That was America, halftime at Super Bowl. We would do well to remember that. But again, we enter into a political domain that we go back to the ancient Greeks. I mean, all of this was discussed and debated. The Roman Empire had full sexuality, a full spectrum of sexuality, until the Holy Roman Empire decided that it was hard to run an empire when people are doing whatever the hell they want. So you don't let them. But let's not get into that, even though we do have a smidge of Catholicism in there. We'll maybe delve into some of the history of some of that in just a moment. But let's start off by looking at the trailer for this movie, Regarding Us, and then we'll bring on the director and writer. Stand by.
What?
I was hired to deliver a Shakespeare telegram to Veronica from her lover, Juan Carlos.
Juan Carlos is the twisted 15-year-old downstairs whose recent hobby is harassing me.
The secretive manner in which you've conducted yourself and the way it has come to light, it is best to quash this before the Archdiocese gets involved and the media gets wind of it. I'm sorry if you can't support your lifestyle.
So now what?
Girl, where have you been?
I've been trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life.
Whenever I do something, I mess up everything.
Not true.
Then why does everyone I love leave?
Life is a series of disappointments and little injustices. Buckle up, buttercup.
No second chances to make impressions. Only get one chance at the start.
I'd like to introduce you to our new student, Kyle.
It smells so much better than the boys' bathroom.
That's because boys don't know how to aim.
And I'm not keeping myself from anyone.
You're my best friend, Alabama.
My son is being corrupted by your daughter. I reckon it'd be best for both our little ones if they no longer associated with one another.
I got an idea.
You still love me?
Sometimes life is so big. The end! That I have to close my eyes.
I don't wanna run. I don't wanna live and die. I don't wanna lie. When I show you all of these eyes, I don't wanna hide.
Always show up to life.
But life is so sad.
Sometimes. But it won't always be.
Always show up to life.
And that is Regarding Us, which is going to be available Thursday, June 27th at 7 p.m. If you're in Los Angeles, which so many of us are, great place to go see it. It'll be at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles, part of the Dances with Films, sponsored by Outfest. Chinese Theater, for those of you not in Los Angeles but might want to check out this film as it becomes available. It's a streaming film down the road. Chinese Theater is the single most famous movie theater in the world. It was built by a gay man. Yes, a gay man who in the 1890s was up in the gold rush, and he was up there with his dad. His father was obviously panning for gold, and he was just watching. And in the general store once a week, for $20, they brought in a single copy of the New York Times. And the general store owner would read the New York Times from page, cover to end and charge all of the minors in there $5 to sit and listen to him read for like 3 hours. And this guy, who built the Chinese Theater, realized people are willing to pay for entertainment. They're willing to pay to watch someone read a newspaper. And so it was born. And so traditionally, in that theater, also where premiered The Wizard of Oz, the greatest, probably gay sentimental film in all of human history, premiered at the Chinese Theater. It makes sense that that would be the home for this. Let me bring on the writer-director. His name is David Beck. He is the producer as well and composer of the award-winning short films for Francis Cannes, Athens International Film and Video Festival, Backup Plan, CineQuest, Out Films in Atlanta. It goes on and on. He also directed David's short films, or he's also directed, pardon me, I've Been on a Plane in Lima, Peru, Haven't Slept for 40 Hours. But this tonight, this was an important conversation to have. He has appeared in over 30 film festivals worldwide, also the creator of the streaming-nominated web series called Spring Street, and the founder of the film company, The Great Griffin Incorporated, which aims to tell tales of the underdog. My people, your people probably. In fact, all the people of Earth, if you think about it, the 1% notwithstanding. He tells specifically stories about the LGBTQ plus experience. I want to welcome you, David Beck, to the Cary Harrison Files.
Hello, Cary. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. Wow.
It was beautiful light. Had I had enough sleep, it would have been more volupte. It could have been filmed with loftier encomiums, but you deserve...
It's still in the city in the clouds.
Still in the city in the clouds. Yes, I was up in famous Machu Picchu in Peru, which is such an extraordinary place, which, by the way, David, since you're thinking it, but you haven't asked it, was there a gay history with the Incans? And I'm here to tell you...
Yes.
Yes. Good answer.
There's a gay history for all people.
Well, this is the actual truth of it. You and I know this for a fact, but civilians out there that are not part of the 10 to 15% to maybe 20% believe not, because they just believe that everyone does basically what they do. Well, it turns out, and this is unofficial, but the Incans had, first of all, no slaves. So everything that was built by people that were indentured volunteers. Let's put it that way. That's how they paid taxes, by participating in community. But we have actual physical pieces of pottery showing same sexual partners. Now, in the 1950s, when Mr. Larco discovered 38,000 pieces of unbroken pottery, half of those were destroyed. Anything that wasn't man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. Why? Because they were suffering a giant Catholic hangover from having been colonized by the Spaniards in 1536 all the way to their freedom in 1820, fill in the blank, whatever year it exactly was. But they still maintain the rituals and the brutality of the religious training and the fundament. Fundament is also another word for ass, but I don't mean the fundamentals. Maybe I do mean that. I'm not sure what I mean, but the long and short of it is they want to learn more. And the head archaeologist of that museum is what? Gay.
Hey.
Did I meet him? Yes. Did I give him a new life mission? Uh-huh. So he has taken one of these pieces of pottery that shows two women, lesbians. And in the 1950s, when this was discovered, one of the heads was torn off because we can't have that now. And so his mission is to get that thing into display for the first time in human history. And we could talk a little bit more about that later, because your film is way more interesting, because you're dealing with contemporary issues that actually affect every single one of us. We all have to have jobs. Some of us have jobs in schools that have a religious bent, and we are who we are. And suddenly we become an active enemy, just even in the last 4 years. And your film tells the story of not only survival, but I think there's a great word for it. We use it 40 times a day, and I can't think of it. Resilience. Resilience, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the story.
Well, it's funny that even though it's a contemporary film, there's also the Catholic hangover, right? That's timeless. So the film was inspired actually by my co-writer, Jennifer Bobby, who is a trans comedian. And she came out later in life. And when she had the courage to come out as her true self, a trans woman, she lost her whole business. She had to file for bankruptcy. She lost her relationship with her father, who doesn't speak to her to this day. And she was a colleague of mine. She auditioned for a project, Spring Street, which you mentioned, years ago. And I just fell in love with her artistry and her humor. She really captured the humor under my drama. And I knew I wanted to write a project for her. And the more I got to know that tragic story of her life, the more I told her, I said, this is the next project I want to write about. I want to write about you. And I've always had a fondness for teachers. I grew up in a family of teachers. My brothers, God bless them, is a high school English teacher. My dad was a high school English teacher. My aunt was a junior high English teacher. And I just have such respect for that profession. I think it's a radical thing to do, is to be a good teacher these days. And I went to Catholic school for 13 years. So that's where that element comes in. I'm dealing with a Catholic hangover myself. And so all of those elements combined made Regarding Us. And I love it because someone actually compared it to the movie Love Actually, and that there's something in it for everyone. You know, it's truly an ensemble piece, because it's really about three different kinds of families. One is a very traditional family, a conservative family, led by Abigail Hawke, who's a series regular in Blue Bloods. She's phenomenal in it. and the other is Veronica's family, her chosen family. Veronica's the trans Catholic school teacher, and she sort of returns to her trans mother's, played by Shandy Moore, who is a very important AIDS activist, and she's a huge advocate all over LA. And also played by my co-writer, co-director Jennifer Bobby. She plays Ruthie, her other trans mother, and she's just hilarious. And then the third family is ANDREA Rosa GUZMAN, who's sort of our lead actress, the little girl who you saw in the trailer. She comes from a very progressive household, and she has 2 gay dads, and I play one of her gay dads. So it's really sort of these 3 groups' responses to these changes that are happening in these characters' lives. So it's something in it for everyone.
You know, it's interesting, David Beck, you talk about sort of matter-of-factly, because it's just the world we live in today. Of course, you're a transgender teacher at a Catholic school. There's literally going to be thousands of it, for real, certainly around the world. But we were talking a little bit about Peru, and I just want to flash back to history so that our straight viewers and listeners right now don't get the sense that we're occupying their world suddenly, that we came out of nowhere, that we're multiplying and grooming and whatever all this. We don't even know what these words mean, by the way. I don't know what grooming to me is. A comb and a brush, maybe some hair product. That's it. So I'm really not familiar with the underground language of something that has nothing to do with me or my people, by the way. So I just want to make clear that if we go back in history, we will see, for instance, we were just talking about Peru and the Incans, the teachers, often males dressed as females. Now, why would they do that? Because they had to encompass and embody all of knowledge. So let's go to the beginning of time, the beginning of religion as we know it. Zeus, the god of all gods, the ancient Greece, Zeus, Z-E-U-S, Zeus, from which we get the word Jesus, Deus, God, Deuteronomy, all of it comes from Zeus, the god of all gods, the beginning of all understandable religion. And what was Zeus's kid? Zeus could have had a bunch of different kids, could have had different versions. His kid was Ganymede, simultaneously male and female. Now, why would Zeus, if he were a bigot, if he were a bad man, he was the god of all gods, the one above the one that you and I were raised with, by the way, Z-E-U-S, ours D-E-U-S, J-E-S-U-S, all of it comes from him. His one child, the most important child, Ganymede, simultaneously male and female. And that was because that's who we are as live humans. So for those of us who have been politically trained and have forgotten who we really are, for instance, how would a man know, any man, know if another man is ugly or not? Seriously. I have no idea. I can't tell at all. Really? Can you tell the difference between ketchup and mustard? Well, yes. So you can tell basically the difference between almost everything. But when it comes to somebody on 2 legs that's male, you have no idea. Are they bald? Do they have a lot of hair? You can't tell. Please. This is why these films, in my opinion, not only being entertaining, but they're important stories about who we really are as human beings, David.
That's exactly right, Cary. And I truly appreciate you bringing that historical context into it. That's so important because we have to know history. Otherwise, how are we going to better ourselves as humanity? Trans people are part of humanity. They always have been since the beginning of time, just as you said. And the word groomer, I know exactly why they use that word, because because those people, I'm not going to say who they are, but we know who they are. Part of the media, a lot of the establishment, a lot of the right-wing people use the word grooming because they compare trans people with pedophiles, and they want to make that comparison. You know, that's what pedophiles do, is they groom children. And that has nothing to do with it. And the trans people that I know, I've known trans people for a long time, but I got to know many trans women during this process, this 5-year process of making this movie, and they are the kindest, most loving, most peaceful, and most intelligent people I've ever met. And I mean, they have to be intelligent because they risk their whole lives being to be themselves, and they sort of have put their feet in the fire, and they're just amazing human beings. And I encourage anyone who if you don't have a trans person in your life, do a little research and get to know them, because they're human beings. And
I
to be afraid
appreciate, David, our wonderful foray down the rabbit hole here, because it is fascinating. Well, you're a filmmaker, so I mean, we could sit and talk about your film, and that'd be great for like 5 minutes, or we can like do a deep dive, make you like a really cool, interesting person. Now we have to see your film, so that's my conceit, because you get it, and you're able to take us to a place that I can't get to on my own, and that everyone else who goes to see your movie on June 27th at 7 p.m. Pacific at the world famous Chinese theater built by Sid Grauman, a gay man who also in 1916 built the first vaudeville theater. And he's got a long and terrible story that most people don't know. Suffering in the 1950s when they went after gay people, took away his theater, ended up selling popcorn in his own Chinese theater just to make a living. So these are important pieces of historical worth so that you can understand, appreciate, and support an institution that originally gave us many of the important gay movies. And here David's movie is appearing in the world famous Chinese theater. David, in understanding trans people, in understanding other people, you take a certain risk, I think, putting these films out there, because 5 years ago, it'd be a lot easier. I mean, we still had Will and Grace and Rerun. People still remembered Ellen busting through the kindling of her closet door and kissing a girl, and ABC went crazy and the sponsors pulled out, 1997 roughly. There was all kinds of LGBT content everywhere, billboards for two guys driving in a Volkswagen, buy one now, it's cool, great air conditioning, leather seats. And times it feels like we're regressing a little bit. So movies like this that remind us who really is living in this country, not this tiny fraction that is trying to be re-represented and push 90% away, but you're actually reflecting the real 90%. Because I'll tell you, living in LA, I'm a minority. I'm a white guy. I think we're down to, we, the white guys, are down to like 36%. I'm the damn minority. So I have to say yes or no, sir, and open doors for other people. And I should in that equation. So what you do is powerful.
Thank you for saying that. It is a challenge, a movie like this, but it's so important and it's so worthwhile. I knew it was going to be hard from the moment I started raising money for it and looking for investors. I looked specifically within the LGBTQ community. I think the issue and the thing that I find upsetting is that there's a lot of transphobia within the LGBTQ community. I was just talking to Anthony, our publicist, about this today. There's just a disdain that white gay men, who are the most powerful people in the community, they don't want to associate with trans people because, gay people are getting rights, even though who knows what tomorrow will bring. I mean, we live in such a precarious and dangerous time because for decades we were getting more rights and we were on the way towards justice, and it seemed like we were going down the right path, and now it's a slippery slope and people are losing rights in this country. And that's a scary moment to live in, because it's just a matter of time before, if they haven't come for your rights, they will if we don't do anything about it. And that's why it's so important for films like these. But it sounds very heavy-handed, this movie, but it's actually a really inspiring and entertaining movie. There's a lot of kids, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of humor. It was written by Jennifer, who, as I said, is a natural-born comedian, and she's the funniest person on the planet. So I hope people come see it and be entertained and laughed. And if they happen to feel something, well, then that's just a little extra. So I'm a straight guy who has lived, befriended, associated with gay, lesbian, trans since the early 70s. I'm just shocked that this is still an issue. Exactly, Robert Ross.
Yeah. Well, Robert is actually really a straight guy, and that's why he's shocked. It's the ones who are maybe not so convinced who they are that get threatened as soon as a spotlight is put on them. And we all know that. Bill Shakespeare said it himself, methinks the lady doth protest too much. It's kind of like if I went into a Ralph's, a grocery store, and there was a bag of frozen okra in there, and I suddenly pulled out a ball-peen hammer, smashed the glass of the freezer case, the okra was spilling out the bags, then I was tearing them open and kicking at the okra and smashing each particular one with a ball-peen hammer. A decent psychiatrist would say, he must have a personal issue with okra. He must have eaten it a lot to have reacted like that. Yes, indeed. And so you and I, David, we understand this stuff. We get it. But people on the other side can't imagine their neighbors actually going through this unless they saw American Beauty with Kevin Spacey, which is an irony when you think about it in many ways. But let me bring on some funny. I want to bring on Rory Penland, who is a giant movie fan. And so he's kind of perfect to bring on to talk about why this movie is also important. Rory, welcome, as always, to the Cary Harrison Files.
Thank you. Thank you, my liege.
So clearly, this is a very cool concept, and David has jumped off the high dive and brought us something great.
I'll tell you, the one line that really grabbed me in the preview was the little boy saying, "Do you still love me?" Wow. That was very powerful, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are feeling the same thing. You know, if I come out, you know, do I lose everything? Do I lose my family? Do I, you know, yeah, very powerful. So I'm looking forward to seeing the film.
And David, just for your information, Rory does not side with the LGBTQ plus. He's not emblazoned with that T-shirt, unless you were today earlier, Rory, but I'm not aware of it. So
no, I'm wearing my Walmart shirt.
Yeah, you're wearing his Walmart shirt.
You were making fun of it before we got on the show.
I really did. I was kind of ruthless, and so I do apologize in public, or in public, more appropriately. But what the take home is here, David, is that your film is going to touch a lot of people, because I think we can relate to every character, no matter what they may be listed as, but they're going through circumstances that are like really normal nowadays.
Yes, I think that it's universal issues. I mean, if you think about that movie Coda, I don't know if you saw it, about the deaf family. It's really like that. It's about this seemingly niche family, but it's really because it's so entertaining and there's so much heart. Anyone can relate to that movie, even if you don't have deaf parents and a deaf brother, you know? And I think that we're gonna change some hearts with this movie, I hope. It's really for parents and it's for children. I think it's a movie that you were kind of joking about it, but I think you can watch it with your 80-year-old grandmother, or, you know, your crazy 50-year-old uncle. And I think anyone can all generations can get something out of it, something different. That's the cool part about this movie, is that it is, in a way, a family movie. And there aren't a lot of LGBTQ films like that. You know, many of them have a lot of sex, and there's not any gratuitous sex scenes. There's nothing that it's going to be like, oh my God, why am I watching this with my mom? I don't think that there.
I don't know. I love watching porn with my mother.
Well, you know what I watched with my mom that I was like, oh God, why am I watching with this mom? Is the Martin Scorsese movie, Wolf of Wall Street. Because I love that movie. I was like, yes, Mom, let's watch this movie. And it was so good. And then I forgot how much
how much Margot Robbie we saw.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
how much Jonah Hill
analogously,
we saw. And we didn't ask for it.
analogously, I watched, all the whole Band of Brothers with my stepfather. I mean, that's just as violent and as nasty as anything. So watching two men kiss is somehow an act of violence that we can't wrap our heads around. This is the folly of it. This is the make-believe. Going back to Zeus, because you are a recovering Catholic, probably still have respect for the institution. I'm Episcopalian, whatever that is, needlepoint and fresh flowers, apparently. Martin Luther nailed up his 96 theses, not feces, theses, to the church door in 1517, was it? And decided to create the Protestant church, protesting against the Pope in Rome. And that way he could be his own Pope and the King of England could be his own Pope. So today I look for my salvation and succor, Succor, from the Pope, King Charles III, and Mrs. Pope, Camilla. Now, if that isn't a comedy act in its own right, I don't know what is. But but this is kind of the beauty of it. There was a point to me saying that. My train of thought is derailed wildly all over the tracks.
Camilla Bowles can do that to you.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
It's like looking at the Medusa.
I know what it was. David and I were talking about Zeus, the king, the god of all gods, the very first one. So right in front of Zeus's temple today in Athens, Greece, the oldest temple, the most famous temple, Zeus, the god of gods, the ruins of his temple is Hadrian's Gate. Now, who is Hadrian? The Emperor Hadrian was the notoriously notoriety, not in a bad way, notoriously gay emperor of Rome for 50 years. What did he do? Not war, libraries, music, writing, palaces, temples, beautified the Roman Empire from one end to the other and built in front of Zeus's temple. Now remember, the Emperor Hadrian of Rome is going to get that Zeus is the head god, started it all, built in front of Zeus's temple, Hadrian's Gate. So basically, you're now looking at a gate that the emperor built, and behind it is Zeus's temple. But what's on top of Hadrian's Gate? What is on top of that? Hadrian's boyfriend.
I was going to say,
You got it, David.
I was going to say a penis. I don't know. So
minus it probably has the penis. But here's the point. People drive by, tourists, millions a year, drive by Hadrian's Gate. How many car accidents because people get it's Hadrian's Gate with his boyfriend on the top? How many car accidents because of that? 0. How many demonstrations or marches because of that? 0. Does the Greek government have a problem with this? No. Does anyone on earth writ large have a problem with this? No. So that's the truth of all of this. And myth busting is part of storytelling, which used to be done in the printed word, but now thankfully is done in the visual way of filmmaking. And Rory, you're a great film fan. You've been changed and touched by watching even TV shows, I would think.
Yeah, well, and I wanted to make the line earlier. And then Nero took over the city and burned it down. It's not a show until I do that. So yeah, we were talking earlier before the show that I am a writer, and writers are not as respected in the business as like directors or producers or the money people in the business. And one of our favorite lines is, "They took my baby." But yeah, I again been a big movie fan all my life, all genres, and yeah, I mean it's you know a powerful movie when you see one, and can appreciate it. And again, from this trailer, I'm looking forward to seeing this film. It looks like it's going to be a really powerful. I'm intrigued by the fact that he says that there's comedy in it because it seems like a very serious, dramatic trailer for the film. So I'm interested as a comedian. I'm also interested to see the comedy in it.
Oh, good. And you're in LA right now, right? So you'll be able to.
No,
see
actually, I'm in the place where he's at. I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, gotcha. I was gonna say I look forward to meeting you at the screening June 27th at 7 p.m. at the Chinese Theater. But you know, well, I think we might be screening in Florida soon. It's too early to be able to reveal that, but
I'll screen it here at Disney.
That's maybe not at Disney, but somewhere close.
Well, listen, David, when you do, make sure you let us know so that we can put out the word. And St. Petersburg, Florida, which you've probably heard of, it likes to think of itself as the gay capital of Earth now, having supplanted Key West. Even it out fundraised twice in a row for Equality Florida, which is our gay rights organization here. It out fundraised twice over Fort Lauderdale. So it is now the big chainsaw of gaiety. And I think they would be just thrilled at I think it's called the Green Dragon. There's a whole gay cinema downtown, a theater now that is owned by the gays. And I'm sure they'd be thrilled to put your
gays
movie in
in
there.
Cinema? That's too much.
Yeah.
But and going back to the comedy, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of humor. I mean, I don't know if you know the actress Katherine Curtin, the very funny comedic character actress. She's probably most famous for her role as the security guard in Orange is the New Black, but she's also one of the moms in Stranger Things, and she was in Homeland and Insecure. She's a very funny. She plays a role, the principal, and she's quite funny.
Okay, she was in the trailer.
Yeah, Jennifer. Yes, and Jennifer Bobby plays a role who's quite funny, and some of the kids are quite funny, and my character's a little funny. I think he's a struggling actor, a hapless actor who just can't get a break. So as one of the gay dads. So yeah, there's
Let me ask you a quick question, David, and I ask this on behalf of people who are straight, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I happen to believe that Alfred Kinsey was right. I do know that most people like what they like, whatever that is. But people can imagine an alternative. It doesn't mean they want it, doesn't mean they desire it, doesn't mean they'll ever do anything about it, but they can certainly imagine it. Anyone who says they can't is probably crazy, and you shouldn't let them order dinner for you or even drive an Uber with you in it. That said, for the benefit of straight people, gay dads, some people, because of the politics and mythology, might not believe that two men can actually love each other, that maybe they're together for, tax purposes, like you would in business. But this isn't that, right?
Not at all. I mean, I'm a gay man myself, so I can speak from my own life experience. And we fall in love, we shack up, we have dreams together, we have fights. Gay people cheat on each other, they get divorced, it's the whole gamut of human emotion and love, romance, commitment. I mean, gay people are people. And whatever a straight couple goes through, gay people go through as well. I mean, sometimes it's convenient that gay men can't get pregnant. That is a perk at times to avoid, unwanted pregnancies. But it's it's life. And this relationship is actually inspired by a lot of my former relationship. I was in a partnership for 10 years, the love of my life, and that it stems from that. We didn't have a kid together, but I always imagined having a kid with him. So, one day hopefully I'll have a kid. Life is long.
Yeah.
So I got really personal and deep there. Sorry.
Well, good.
No.
You can scratch that out.
This particular show is long form, so if you don't get deep and personal, we're going to dig it out of you for sure.
That's
And
true.
we are coming pretty close to the close at this point, but you're probably familiar with the name Noam Chomsky.
Oh, yes. Huge
Okay.
fan.
So Noam Chomsky, and this is back when I helped co-create the gay channel on Sirius XM. The channel's now gone because it assimilated itself to smithereens. It assimilated
speaking
to
of
the point.
Sirius- sorry to interrupt you, but speaking of Sirius XM, I don't know if you know Martine Rothblatt, one of the founders of Sirius XM Radio, but she is one of our main investors, our executive producer.
Oh,
An incredible
awesome.
trans woman who invented Sirius XM Radio.
Really?
Yes, you got to look her up, Martine
Small
Rothblatt.
world.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Well, I can't outdo that, but I can say because of her magic, we were I was doing the morning show, and for me, a good morning show has Noam Chomsky on it. It doesn't do gossip and fingernail painting tips. I leave that up to the other 23 hours. So I brought on Chomsky and I challenged the audience. I said, I'm going to ask the smartest man alive. And we only know this because he's the 8th most quoted person in the world, syndicated in 120 newspapers, not in the US. 0 in the US. Noam Chomsky is banned from the United States, but he's globally popular. And so he's the Einstein of today. And he's now, 96, I think. And I said, well, I'm going to come out to Noam Chomsky and let's see what he thinks. Now, David, you and I know he's going to be okay with it. Rory, you and I know he's going to be okay with it. But does the audience know that? No. How are they going to know that? We know that somebody who's really high functioning is going to be high functioning and not suddenly start walking on his knuckles and grow hair in his palms. I mean, I've never seen that personally. So I tell him, I come out to him, and he said, well, sounds to me like you have the same arguments, like who left the toothpaste cap off, or how come we're out of milk? I said, yeah, that's exactly right. He said, it's going to be exactly the same thing. Like it didn't matter he wasn't thinking, wait a minute, 2 guys? He was thinking, what is the process of 2 guys? It has to be a partnership between 2 humans has to work the same way. Somebody goes shopping, somebody does this, somebody does that, and then you have a problem. And here's the thing that was interesting, unexpected. And you'll want to remember this, David. You'll want to remember this, Rory. Everyone will want to remember this. But only Noam Chomsky can pull it off. He said, well, in my marriage, and he was married 50 years at that point, he said, the thing that made it work is we were friends. We were friends. He said, and we had every argument we would ever have in the first 2 years of the relationship. The milk, the toothpaste cap, the hot water, whatever it is. He said, so I would just remember that this was argument L47 and create a tag and put it in my memory. And when that argument or a variant of that argument would come up years later, I would just pull the L47 tag and remember how I resolved it. Now, I can't do that. I don't think anybody.
Science nerd.
But that's how, he just took it like so deep and like evaluated the nature of a relationship and how to navigate it, irrespective of is it man, man, woman, woman, or man or woman. Like that, he never mentioned that once. And so that was, I think, the most powerful acceptance, more than acceptance. He didn't even accept it. He just went off on what is the nature of a relationship. So to your point and to your art, David, you put something together that is relevant, that is important, that shows the human struggle dynamically. Though I haven't had the pleasure of seeing your film yet, I've got a chance to talk to you deeply. I've seen your trailer 60 61 times now. So I'm just wishing you great success in this. I do hope you get it to states like Florida, in the South, where there are tens of thousands of gay people. My God, Fort Lauderdale and there, Orlando, where Rory is. He can look out the window and see. What do you see when you look out the window, Rory?
Roofing guys. They're redoing the roofs here.
Well, there you have it.
Old people.
Old people falling down.
You want a cat? This goddamn cat won't stay off of my in front of my house.
So yeah, this is important.
Yeah, it is. And thank you so much for this wonderful conversation and bringing so much historical context into the trans experience, the gay experience, because that's what it's all about. It's about knowing our history and learning from it and moving forward. And we have to keep moving forward. We have no choice, because when we stop moving forward, we're just gonna perish. So come see our movie if you're in LA. It's June 27th at 7 p.m.
At 7 o'clock Pacific time, LA time, at the
tickets
world
are only
famous.
$20 if you buy them by Wednesday, the 19th. The 20th is the first day of the festival, and then the ticket prices go up. So you want to make sure you purchase them by the 19th.
And just an added bonus, the Chinese theater has a giant IMAX screen in it. So it was redone, I think, for Chris Nolan for Interstellar. And he went in and manually tweaked all of the audio with his butt crack showing. I mean, he was on his hands and knees for a week, juicing up that theater. So it is the premier movie palace on earth to see a movie of this level. And congratulations on getting it cleared at the world famous Chinese, David. This is monumental. And I know everyone who goes to see it is going to love every second. And they get to meet you. Am I correct?
Yes, I will be there. And a lot of my cast will be there. Alexandra Gray, Abigail Hawk. If you're a Blue Bloods fan, I know it's closing I think it's season 15. It's our last season. So they're wrapping on Thursday. She's really sad about it. She's like losing her whole Blue Bloods family, but she'll be there. And ELIUD Garcia KAUFFMAN, who is a sexy piece of meat. No, he plays my husband, and he'll be there. And our kids will be there. Hudson Paul, amazing young actor who's booking all kinds of TV shows, and ANDREA ROSA GUZMAN, who's making her screen debut, will be there. And am I forgetting anyone? And our beautiful cinematographer, Caroline Stuckey, as well as our producer, Katrina Rubenis-Stevens, will be there. So we'll have a nice group representing, and we'll have an after party. So come on out and have fun with us, have some drinks with us. Yeah, talk about the movie and what you got on it.
Wonderful. Let's have a quick moment of approbation, bend the knee to the great Renee Yawarsky, who is the series producer of the Cary Harrison Files, along with Rethinking Heroes and other things. She's also our technical directress and producer-trix and dominatrix virtually. And so I just want to acknowledge and thank her. I don't think she gets enough approbation, bootlicking, and sufficient butt licking either. So I just want to extend my tongue.
You went there.
I'm going to get, this is a Me Too movement, isn't it?
You went there.
But you can
I'm consenting. I'm consenting. It's all right. I'm loving. I'm blushing. I'm loving. I'm glowing. Thank you. I'm just irritated that Rory never talks to me like this. So Rory, you're in trouble, Rory. You're in trouble.
I cannot praise you enough, and you know that. Jeez.
Well, you never said butt licking, and we'll talk about it.
I didn't go that far. No. Just like he didn't go that far.
We'll leave that in my domain.
This is more of a movie about
David's
identity.
in his own panel. He's in his own panel. He's firewalled from this particular adulation that I have with Renee. And it's safe sex because there can't be any.
Well, you can watch each other on camera, but
I guess we could, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure that out down the road, and we'll certainly publish how we can get away with that, too. I want to thank you, David Beck. I want to thank you for having made the movie Regarding Us. Quick synopsis once again. Fired from her teaching job at a Catholic school, a transgender woman contemplates suicide until she meets a young girl with two fathers, and they have a profound impact on each other's lives. Very much looking forward to it. It's the Chinese Theater, world famous Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard in LA. Part of the Dances with Films, sponsored by Outfest. And that is on June 27th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then look for it streaming some point wherever you happen to live, so you can make sure you can enjoy it as well. Thank you, David Beck, for joining us today. Thank you, Rory Penland. Thank you, Renee. And I will see you guys next